Hey guys, it's Melanie. Happy Saturday. So pardon my little pony here. I am actually so sweaty and gross right now. I am getting the house ready for the Memorial Day weekend. Happy weekend to all of you in the US, by the way. Happy long weekend, I guess I should say. We do have some guests coming this weekend, so one of the last rooms that I have really touched in this house in terms of like putting together in at least some kind of half-ass way was our guest room. And so Craig and I finally went to IKEA. We got the bed that I wanted, and so I'm washing the sheets and mopping the floor in there. It does have hardwoods in that one bedroom, so I'm mopping the floors and just getting everything ready, and in the process melting because it's kind of warm today. So I wanted to do this particular video, which I'm gonna call my Melting 101 video, because I always get a lot of random questions about home fragrance in terms of melting. So a couple weeks ago, I did my Candle Burning 101 video, and if you missed that video, I will link it down below. It was just kind of my tips and tricks to get a really good burn out of your candles, to make the most out of, you know, the candles that you purchase, because some of them can be really expensive. Some of them, obviously, like Bath & Body Works, are a little bit more affordable, but they can sometimes be more finicky. So that video was just centered around how I make all the candles work the best. So again, that video will be down below. Today we're gonna talk about melting. So most of you who are watching this probably have a candle warmer, not a candle warmer, a wax warmer, I guess we'll call it. This one here is actually from Walmart. If I can find it, I'll link it down below, but I brought this one out because it's not currently plugged in anywhere. Honestly, throughout most of the house right now, I have a lot of scentsy warmers. This one might be going into my master bedroom. I think it'll actually look really nice in there, so I'll move that in there. But I have, like I said, I have some Walmart warmers, I have some scentsy warmers, and then I also have a brand called Ambi that I got at Fred Meyer. So, and I also have the little plug-ins that you just plug into the wall that has the little warmer like attached to the top. Usually those only take like 1 cube of wax, whereas with these more traditional ones, you get 2 cubes of wax. So, yeah, I have several of those in the bathrooms as well. I don't put those on like the ground level because A, I have dogs, B, I have a kid, and C, I have a husband who's kind of a big bumbling oaf sometimes. He's just very clumsy and he runs into things all the time, and it would be my worst nightmare if he like rammed his leg or foot into one of those things and wax just went everywhere. So I try to keep those particular ones in areas where they're not going to get knocked around. So usually the bathrooms, like above like the counter, is a good place. So I have a lot of those, and again, it's a variety of scentsy and then just one that I got from Walmart. Now with those like wall plug-in ones, I only use 1 cube of wax, and that usually lasts me about, it's usually scentsy going in there, so 5 to 6 days, which I think is pretty good. I guess that kind of takes me into the brands of wax that I really like the most, because I do get that question quite frequently, and I do get a lot of people that tell me that I need to invest more in vendor wax, and I totally understand that vendor wax can be super addicting. The reason that I haven't gotten into it as much as some YouTubers have is because a lot of times the independent vendors have like openings. So they make a bunch of wax and then they put them on their website and they make an announcement on Instagram that says, okay, I have this available, and then there's like this bum rush to like get what you want. And I just don't like that. There's something about that way of like buying wax that just doesn't appeal to me. I have tried a few vendor wax companies in the past, and I found the product to be very good. Not quite as good as what I get from Scentsy, which just has a lot more consistency to it usually. I mean, Scentsy can have its flaws too, so don't get me wrong. It's not like the holy grail of, you know, wax melts. Like, I don't think there really is. Just like there really isn't with candles. I mean, there kind of is with candles. I'm kind of stuck on Homeworks right now. That's kind of like my favorite. But yeah, so I totally get why people keep recommending it to me, but it just kind of stresses me out, like stalking their Instagram or Facebook pages and waiting for releases, and then, you know, like basically fighting people for the product that I want. I want to be able to go on a website and just order whatever I want whenever I want it. I don't want to wait for it to come out or to be made. I don't want to have to wait to cure anything. That's kind of a big thing with a lot of vendor wax companies. So I will try more in the future. You know, I'm not saying that I have like a total aversion to it. It's just that it's one of those things where I'm like, you know, like I can take it or leave it. But the companies that I probably am the most loyal to are the Swan Creek Drizzle or Herbal Melts. I love them. Right now I haven't placed an order with Swan Creek in several months because I wanted to get through a lot of my backup stash, and I'm just about there. So I think I'm gonna probably order a couple for summer, and then I'll go a little bit crazy in the fall because I don't have anything for fall yet in terms of wax melts. I used a lot of what I had last fall up. And my other favorite, if I had to just pick two, would probably be Scentsy, in all honesty. I just find the consistency of Scentsy to be the best for me personally. There's a huge range, a huge selection. Sometimes you get some that last longer than others, but for the most part, it's a really great brand for me personally. So when I melt Swan Creek candles, I just use 1 cube, because if you go to their website, you'll see that the cubes are very large. So one of the Swan Creek candles is basically the equivalent of like 2 of the Scentsy cubes. So there's that. With Scentsy, I usually take 2 cubes for you know, most of my warmers. I rarely ever do 3. I don't think that's necessary. I had one consultant leave a comment on one of my Scentsy videos. This was a while ago, and she was like, I don't know why on earth you use 2 cubes because that's so wasteful. You just need 1. But for me personally, I can smell the product a lot better when I have 2 cubes. I really want to notice the fragrance, and so that's why I personally use 2 cubes. You can use 1 or you can use 3. More than 3 I wouldn't recommend, because I think most of these, you know, different containers here, once you get more than 2 or 3 wax cubes in here, you have the chance of overflowing once it melts. So just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, so I use 2 for Scentsy, and any other wax melts that I get from Walmart, I'll typically use 2 cubes as well. But I haven't purchased Walmart wax in forever. I just haven't been to Walmart in a very long time. I think it's been like a year, if not more. So nothing has brought me into Walmart. So, you know, I haven't picked anything up. So those would be my favorite in terms of brands that I like to use, the number of cubes. With my Swan Creek candles, I usually change Swan Creek wax melts. I also buy the candles, so. But with the wax melts, I will usually change those out after 4 days. With Scentsy, I can do 5 or 6 days. By the 5th or 6th day, even with Scentsy, I become kind of nose blind. There may still be a little bit of fragrance left in the melted wax, but it's just one of those things where I'm like, nah, I can't smell it, so it's gotta go. And I don't mind switching it out at that point. I think it's very fair that I get that amount of fragrance out of them for me personally. And by the way, anytime I buy from Scentsy, I always buy the bundles. So I will do a 6-pack, which brings the price down. And I buy all of my Scentsy from my friend Lisa, who, by the way, is coming to visit me again in September. I actually am suckering her into flying up from California to help me with this huge wedding that I'm doing in September. It's like 750 people, and I was like, hey, are you bored in September? Do you want to come play with flowers? And I totally talked her into it. So, and we'll do a video while she's here as well. But she's been fantastic. She never pressures me to buy anything, and she's a really great consultant because she really gets to know like my orders and what I like. And just because we're friends, she knows what my preferences are. And so she'll make suggestions to me, but she's never like, oh, you have to have this, or like, you have to buy this, you know, like it's not like that. And she's not like that with anybody. So she's fantastic. If you don't have someone you're working with, check Lisa out. I will link her YouTube channel down below. But anyway, so to change the wax, this is another question that I get quite frequently. So I'm going to show you with this one because it's kind of, I don't think it's, no, it's not. So my favorite way of changing out the wax, and you see how this popped out of here. This was, I think this was vanilla apricot from Scentsy. You see how that popped out really easily? So my preferred method is to, you know, take it off the little dish. If you can't remove the dish, then you'll have to do a different way, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But if you can remove the dish, just pop this in the freezer for like 30 minutes, and this is what happens. It pops out. If for some reason you're using a wax that is maybe a little bit more sticky and it doesn't want to come out, usually by the time that it's frozen, all you have to do is just like wedge a knife in there and that'll pop it up too. But for me, I can usually just, there it goes. Can you tell that I played sports and was really successful? I can't catch anything, you guys. And now there's dog fur on it, gross. But yeah, so this, I pop it out and then I will just throw this in the garbage. If you cannot remove the dish, so that say this was like attached to this warmer, you can take like 2 or 3 cotton balls, just throw them in here after you turn the warmer off, while the wax is still in its liquid form, and the cotton balls absorb all of the wax, and then you just take the cotton balls out, throw them in the garbage, and then you can wipe the dish with maybe a clean cotton ball. That one seems a little bit more wasteful to me, and the reason I don't do it is because I don't always have cotton balls. And for me, most of my dishes can be popped in the freezer, so that's my preferred method. I know there are people that have lots of other ways of doing it, so if you have a different way, you know, some people just pour the wax out into like a recycled candle jar or something like that, and then wipe it. I mean, let me know what your preferred method is down below in the comments because I'm kind of curious. But honestly, for me, I pop these in the freezer and then they just come right out. I don't really think, the only brand that I had trouble with was Milk House Creamery, which I don't like their wax melts at all. Those didn't pop out very easily and I could barely smell them. So not my favorite. Their candles are a lot better, but their wax melts were a big no for me. But yeah, so this is my preferred method. In terms of the candle crock, I do already have a candle crock 101 video. I will put that down below. But a lot of times I will take what is left of my candles, which sometimes I just put a full candle in there. Sometimes I just have like the remnants kind of at the bottom of the candle jar. I'll put that in my candle warmer, and then, you know, I will get the scent out of it that's kind of remaining at that point. And then once again, when I'm done, I turn off the candle crock and I put the jar, after it's cooled obviously, into the freezer. And then all I have to do, and it's the same thing, so I'm just gonna show you with this, pretend there's like a wick in here. I just have to go in and like pop the wax on the side and it comes out. Sometimes it'll break into a couple pieces, but because you've loosened the glue on the bottom of the wicks, everything just pops out and it's totally clean. So if you can get one of those hot plate candle warmers, they sell them at Michael's, or if you can buy some, you know, Miracle Find a candle crock, you can use a candle crock. But that's also how I clean out my candle jars, is I like to just pop them in the freezer. It's the easiest method for me personally, and then I can either recycle the jar or I can reuse it for something else. That works best for me. So anyway, that is kind of all that I wanted to share for my melting 101 video. I have any like fancy magic for melting my wax. I just like to use a couple cubes. I like to leave it in for as long as I can smell it. And then I like to change it out by popping it in the freezer. Those are really like my, the way that I like to do it. That doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but I just kind of thought I would share with you what I do because I get a lot of questions about it. So hopefully I can reference people back to this video now instead of having to type it out every single time. If you have any special tips and tricks, please leave them down below in the comments for all of us to read and maybe take something away from, your expertise, because I am not the expert on really anything. I just kind of do what works for me. But yeah, thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch. I need to get back to work. I hope you are having a great holiday weekend and are able to relax and enjoy. And I hope you're ready to kick off summer, because here in the US, this is kind of the unofficial kickoff for summer here, Memorial Day weekend. So, all right. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for a Homeworks candle review. Take care.